Okay, so
Mm.
Tracy Miniknuku, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for having me, Will. It's nice to catch up, finally.
Yeah, absolutely. And so tell everyone where you're dialing in from.
So I'm calling from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and I've been living here for 18 years now. I came via Hong Kong. We didn't get to stay in Hong Kong as long as I would have liked, and then the company I was working with transferred across to Malaysia. So here we are.
So obviously your accent probably doesn't sound to our listeners like it comes from Kuala Lumpur or Southeast Asia. Maybe tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up where you are.
Yeah, so I'm from New Zealand, like many of the people that you've interviewed before me.
Love a Kiwi.
And so, yeah, I'll just say in advance for the listeners that there could be the odd swear word.
Yeah, I have to do that disclaimer on every New Zealander that comes on the show.
That never leaves. Yeah, that never leaves us really. There's a time and a place for an expletive.
Yeah.
And that happens frequently in our lives, especially now. So I was working as the trainer manager in New Zealand with Les Mills, and an opportunity came up to introduce the Les Mills programs into Fitness First Asia. They were expanding really rapidly. So when we talk about expansion, we're talking about going from 10 clubs to 70 clubs in 5 years.
Wow.
And that was throughout Southeast Asia.
Was that new openings or was that, so that was?
Yeah, all new.
Wow.
All new builds.
that's a big task.
Big task. And then, so that was throughout Southeast Asia. So it's multiple clubs opening in multiple countries at the same time. So when I averaged it out, it was about every 6 weeks, a new club would open. And what they wanted to do, what they decided was probably one of the most effective ways to introduce group fitness on a mass scale would be to have the Les Mills programs. And so I was given the opportunity to apply. I was one of those sort of freaky people that's a jack of all trades, master of none, which served me in this situation because I could train every Les Mills program.
Right.
And
oh, so you're one of those rare people that could dance, they could pump, they could cycle.
Teach yoga, yeah. I mean, some of it, you know, to give myself a little bit of credit, I did have a dance and triathlon background, so I was always
there you go.
Yeah, and it just kind of, you know, made sense to teach those type of programs as well. So I interviewed for the role of, I guess it was head trainer for Les Mills, and the position was based in Hong Kong at the time. I'd only just got married, and I was actually kind of applying for the role before I told my husband.
So where were you living at the time that you applied for the job?
In Wellington.
In Wellington.
And I was working,
okay.
Yes, I was working at Les Mills Wellington. I was the group fitness manager there for the 2 clubs that they had, which was Extreme and the Terrace. And I was also
because that would have been when I
man.
first came across you. Although, as we established before, we'd never actually met in person, but that was when I was at Les Mills Christchurch. It would have been all those years ago.
That's right. Yeah. And so I would have been down to Christchurch a few times because I was the trainer manager for Les Mills New Zealand team. And that's where I met people like Bevan and so people up and down the country, Susan, Tolly, Renata. And sort of put together the first trainer team with the support of Maureen Baker. And and so I guess thought that experience, that opportunity to learn all about the training modules. Actually, I wrote 2 training modules, body combat and body jam.
There you go. Jack of all trades.
Just a little bit of a memory thing coming back. Yeah, I remember one of the very first computers that I ever had was at my house, that I used to write the body combat module and the body jam module, so that those programs could run internationally. And I was a part of the trial team to try the programs out and see how they would roll out internationally. I actually did do a little bit of international training prior to moving to Hong Kong. So I introduced body pump and body combat into Club Med in Brazil and Mexico. Mexico was Cancun, so that was fantastic.
Spring break, but training.
2 times, yeah. So I think I went in March one year. It was the year before I moved away, and I went in March, and then I went again in April. So I had a massive amount of jet lag because you have to fly through Miami and then on to Cancun. But it was absolutely fantastic, an amazing experience. And obviously within me, it was like, hey, I freaking love this stuff. This is incredible. If I can go to a country and give the gift of Les Mills classes and train these guys to teach these programs at Club Med with multiple languages, because not everybody spoke English, and still be able to get the point across, I felt like I wanted to do more of that. So that was the catalyst, and obviously having the experience meant that by the time I applied for the role in Hong Kong, I had the experience internationally. Actually, I did a few other things as well. Like I went to Brazil.
That's all right. So we haven't had anyone from based in Asia on the podcast yet. So maybe for the listeners that I think are primarily kind of across the UK and the USA, tell us a little bit about the fitness industry in Asia and how it compares to your experience of the fitness industry in other places.
Yeah, I'm really lucky that I got into the fitness industry when it was starting to lift off in Asia. It was really kind of new here. You would have things like programs like aerobics was the program, right? That was the program. Yoga was really big, and lots of dance programs, nothing like Zumba, but just, freestyle dance classes and lots of freestyle step classes. So they were probably the primary classes that you would experience if you came to Asia. And, wide range of skill levels and lots of talent without a doubt, but not much opportunity for them to really hone their skills. So it was really good to go. But I came from, Les Mills background. So you've got the rules and you've got the certifications and you've got the assessments and everything, and it's all laid out for you, and you rock into an environment where it's like free and everyone has their following. And we didn't have social media, of course, but the trainers that I met, they had massive followings, and that was really cool to see that in hindsight, and then hit the ground running with Les Mills training. So to see how the programs were integrated into, it was fitness first. And it just took off, and body combat took off massively because there is a martial arts affinity in Asia. Every Asian country has a martial arts. And so they just grabbed hold of that program and flew with it. So that was awesome because I loved it. I was teaching a lot of it at the time.
So fast forward to
and then body balance.
You actually have your own studio, is that right? So now you're doing kind of like a roll right back around and you're back into is it more freestyle? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So 5 years ago, it was my husband's business actually. So it was my husband's business. I was working for Les Mills Asia Pacific at the time. And he decided that he wanted to go out on his own and get into the boutique fitness industry. And it was, 5 years ago, that was like, wasn't much of that in Asia at all. Like, I think we might have been one of the very first boutique fitness clubs in Asia.
And we'll put a link to it so people can see, but what's the name of the club?
It's called Fire Fitness.
In KL.
In KL, in Malaysia, So we have 4 clubs now, but the first club opened, so if we're looking at 2015, 5 years ago. And the concept was HIIT training and treadmill running, HIIT training. So it would be similar to something you would see at Barry's or not F45, Orange Theory. But my husband had never seen those programs. He'd never gone and done those workouts. So he completely crafted the workouts from scratch. I had been to see the workouts. And I can sort of vouch, even though, I've done the Fire workouts, I can vouch that I felt they were better.
You're allowed to say that. That's fine.
I know I'm allowed to say it, but I will say it today. I'll stand by it. And even having done a few Barry's classes and a few Orange Theory classes, even as late as a couple of years ago, I would still say that the Fire workouts were really, really good, and they still are really good.
I remember being really impacted by a social media post that you made around cycling and studio cycling. And this was a few years ago. So I was watching you as you launched Fire, and all of the branding was so cool. And obviously the studio looked amazing. It was very much kind of top-notch design for what was going on in the boutique space. And I think as you made a post about what was important about a cycle class, and if you boil down the most important things about a cycle class, what is it that people go for? And I think you referenced the fact that you were, you came from an RPM and cycling background. So obviously you've talked about being
Yeah,
triathlon. So you're obviously, performance cyclist, right? And so that was, and I remember back in the day when I was teaching RPM and when I was doing cycle classes, we would wear bib shorts and we'd wear the cycling shirts, and it was very much around kind of mimicking cycling. And when Soul
yeah,
Cycle came along, I do remember looking at it and going, too fast, unsafe, bad for your knees, terrible, dancing on a bike, stupid. And then I came around to it as boutiques started to grow up, and I really got into, this is actually really fun and I like doing this. And obviously I have some preconceived ideas about what a cycle class should be. But your
yeah,
post kind of talked about, I'm not actually, do you remember the post that I'm talking about?
yeah, I
Can you
do.
take us through the
Yeah,
most important things of a cycle class? Because I thought this was probably
yeah,
the best summation of what's important in a group fitness cycling class that I'd ever seen sort of
yeah.
mentioned.
Okay, so when I knew that I was going to catch up with you, this is actually one of the things I was thinking about. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how does a person who teach RPM move across to create a boutique cycling program, right? When you've
Yep.
got that in-ground RPM background, and I fundamentally do believe in safety. Absolutely,
Yeah,
I
me
believe
too.
in safety. I think far out, if I hurt the people in front of me, how are they going to come back? That's not a good business decision. But I also had the opportunity to go to Soul Cycle and all the other boutiques in the US, and I went in with a very open mind. So I came out of RPM and I went into, Soul Cycle, Fly, and a couple of other programs. I have one called Cycle House that I absolutely love in LA. It's just phenomenal. And it was like lifting up the blanket, looking underneath and going, oh my God,
Yeah,
all
there's this
this
whole
amazing,
thing here that's not what it's for.
all this stuff under here. This is
Yeah.
amazing. And I went in with an open mind, and I knew it would be an unsafe workout for me
Yeah.
that would challenge my thinking. I knew that in advance. And I went in thinking, what else is happening in the room that makes all these people come here? And I got the lights, and I got my own speaker above me,
Yeah.
and the music was stuff that I loved. I loved the music so much, and I really battled a lot with the music with RPM.
Yeah.
Just because you don't get the choices, right? So when it comes to freestyle cycling, you have a lot more choice. You get to authentically interpret yourself through your music. I also just felt that the trainers were allowed to be themselves, whoever they were, and they represented it unapologetically. And obviously I'm in the US, so I found it a little bit overwhelming,
Yeah,
but
totally.
being a Kiwi, but I did embrace it, and I just felt like I am feeling this. So I left and I came back, and I thought I'm going to build a ride program that's going to, here's RPM at this end, and here's Soul Cycle at this end, and I'm going to come somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, parts of it that I love. I want it to be fashionable.
Yep.
I want it to be fun. I want it to be interactive. I want the trainers to feel that they can be themselves. So all these parts were really important. Now, all I brought to it was a structure that was safe, but allowed them to be all those other parts. So the structure gives the workout, the workout structure gives the guaranteed results, the safety, and keeps people engaged. But the other part is really important, which is what we wanted to talk about. And I was able to flip the whole recruitment part around. It became really important to me when I was recruiting people to teach ride, that if I sat down and had a conversation with them, if they could make me crack up laughing in the first minute, I felt like we could probably do something. I wasn't hiring or recruiting based on their experience on a bike. I was recruiting based on how much fun am I having in this interview right now.
Yep.
And I found that people that really loved music, that were DJs, that were radio hosts, that were on TV, that were social media influencers, but they loved fitness. It just sounds so opposite to what I was used to, where I was coming from, my whole history.
I mean, I completely understand this, because this is a journey that I've really been on too. I kind of got into fitness and thought that the most important thing about being a group fitness instructor is being the most impressive physical role model you can possibly be. And then we're going to talk a little bit about this later on. So I don't want to sort of jump in early, but as you get older, you realize that that isn't the most important thing. But anyway, let's circle back to that later and continue on the cycle thing, because I think you've got really interesting things to say about how to create a great cycle experience. And I know that there are cycle instructors who listen to this.
Yeah, so that was the first part, was the recruitment of the rock star trainers, and we've always spoken of them as rock stars.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we put together the branding, I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to show that people would come in and have an amazing interactive experience and feel a connection with the trainer and have a party on the bike, but they wouldn't be lifting their arms away from the handlebars. That wouldn't happen, and we won't do the double time tap backs. But
Right.
we'll do stuff that...
Which are very hard for guys, by the way. I feel that the double time tap backs are only ever programmed by females. Just saying.
And maybe that's why it's mostly female in the room.
Exactly.
I wonder if they thought about that, right? Because I did think about that. I thought, this can't be good. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, moving on.
So, yeah, I get guys in the room. So obviously we're not doing double time tap backs. I felt like another part to it was, anytime I taught a cycle class, at the 30-minute mark, I started to get a bit bored. It was a thing for me, and I don't know whether it's like maybe I've got a little bit of ADHD, or I don't know. I've never thought about it before, but I would often, when I was teaching a normal cycle class, get to the 30-minute mark and feel like, you know what, I want to get off and I want to do something else.
Yeah.
And so it started to percolate that I was going to pull together a program that maybe wasn't just riding.
Yep.
So there wasn't a lot of hybrid cycle classes out there at the time. So we're talking like, we launched 4 years ago, Ride Hit and Ride Yoga. But I was training in my backyard, and I thought, you know what, if I can do a 30-minute workout, make it a little bit more intense, and then get off the bike and train properly for 10 minutes with weights or a suspension trainer or a variation of equipment, and properly train my upper body and properly train my core.
Right.
And that would be a really unique
that leads me to
proposition.
think that your view of the hand weights track wasn't that it was necessarily the best thing in the world.
I think it's really cute.
Yeah. Chance for some fun, Corey.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I do have fun. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, I still go to, now here's another thing. When we launched, in the market, people said, oh, you guys are like RPM because we don't do the dancified choreography. So we got linked to RPM, and that also meant that people felt that we did not ride with rhythm, which is completely not true. Our ride program is you ride to the beat. If it's a hip hop song, you ride to the beat. Well, it is, but there are parts of it where you could ride to your own pace, and I'm like, nah, you gotta ride to the beat, man. As soon as that beat drops, you're on it, and if you're not on it, there's a problem.
Are you one of those people that if there is a beat, you find it very difficult to not be on the beat? Because I am definitely one of those people.
struggled so much.
Speaking of Bevan, when him and I used to teach together, Bevan made the comment in the podcast that he did with me that, you know, his choreo and his timing didn't used to be the best. And I would teach with Bevan, and he would go on the offbeat. And then you want to do that thing you do in your team teaching, which is you honor the person with the microphone and you go on their timing, even when it's really wrong. But
now you look so bad.
But I can't do it. And so Bevan will be on the offbeat and I'd be trying to do the offbeat. And I just keep clicking back into the onbeat. And I'm like,
Yeah, so it's like that for us as well. I mean, we do ride to the beat. So we alternate between riding the heavy beat and then picking up the pace to ride at double time to get the intensity.
Yep.
So it's a combination of that. And then, you know, I do go to rhythm riding classes in boutiques because I have friends that teach, and I go for the enjoyment. My friends that come to my class, they also go to other boutique studios, and we go together. It's a really awesome kind of environment in KL where I feel personally a lot of the boutique cycling instructors support each other, and we're there for each other. We recently did a big charity event where we had 8 boutique cycling studios all raising money for charity.
That's fantastic.
Well, everyone taught in their own studio, but it was over an 8-hour period, and it was all on social media. So I think that's awesome, and that was done even through COVID. So we couldn't all be together. So we decided, hey, look, let's all teach a class and raise funds for this animal charity. So there is quite a good community for boutique cycling and for the instructors that know each other. We go to each other's classes, and so I still enjoy the 45-minute ride. I have fun with the cute little hand weights. I don't get a lot out of the ab conditioning on the bike, you know, from a physical educator's perspective. I'm like, I want to get down and do my planks on the floor. So our studio, you probably saw pictures of our studio, was developed so we could do both.
Yeah.
We have a rig in the studio so we can do suspension training. We have a whole lot of equipment built out, and we just have 16 bikes and 16 spots so that you can train on the floor as well. So it is very small boutique, but we always felt boutique would be 20, and that we could really interact with people in that way. So yeah, you're going to do 30 minutes.
No, go.
And then you'll do 30 minutes, and then you'll do 10 minutes of training, and you'll do 7 minutes of yoga. And then we have the other program, which is ride yoga.
Sweet. I love the idea of a hybrid class. That's what we've just done with Shift, actually, is we've changed all the apps so that our instructors can basically teach a lift class, and then they can bolt on 10 minutes of a shift class and 10 minutes of a mind. So they basically do some lifting followed by 10 minutes of HIIT, followed by 10 minutes of mobility or flexibility or stability. And I mean, creating this app was an absolute nightmare. If anyone's ever done app development, I'm sure you understand.
Yeah.
But we've
I'm doing one now.
So you can basically pull whatever workouts you want into a playlist and then move the playlist around so that they're just ordered perfectly. And so it kind of gives unlimited combinations. You can do like a rise sort of step HIIT followed by mobility followed by a finisher or whatever you want to do.
So good.
With your classes. But
well, that's going to keep you really busy.
Yeah.
It's going to keep you really busy because you're going to have to keep making lots of little workouts, like 10-minute workouts.
And I feel that for me, the older I get, the more novelty I kind of want and I'm looking for, and the less I'm necessarily wanting to focus on just, training the same things because I think that's what will work. And that's actually what brought me to doing the type of cycling that the first time I went to those rhythm rides, the Soul Cycle style, I have to admit my eyes popped out of my head and I'm like, what are they doing? This isn't even a workout. Then I realized that it was more about the connection with the instructor, the connection with the music, the fact that you could lose yourself in a dark room. And even though I am probably quite well known now for creating formats that don't have music attached to them, I am a music-based person. That's what I do. I think we've talked about this. I have a body bike in my flat, and in the morning I get up, I put on a playlist and I just freestyle ride to it, and I find myself thinking, this is great, Corey, I could totally do this in a class.
I have a body bike on my balcony in my condo.
Perfect.
And it's awesome. I love training outside. It's so hot here.
I bet. So
it's like sweat.
Before we move on to some other stuff, I just thought I'd ask, for the purpose of the listeners, because they're probably interested, how's the situation with coronavirus and lockdown affecting fitness in Asia at the moment?
Okay, so we did go into a serious 12-week lockdown in April. So April, May, June, we locked down, which meant all fitness clubs were closed, schools were closed. So it was like legit 90 days. What we did do during lockdown is we did something really funky. So some of our boutique clubs, some of our clubs have digital support in the studio, which means that as the trainer is training the workout, you can also see it on a TV screen, the same exercise. So in January... Oh,
so they're like filming the instructor from another angle, or...
No. So in January, I shot 1,700 exercises that we would use for programming. 6 days, and the trainers were smashed. But they're so fit. They're so fit, so they're awesome. And we did that for bar as well, which was our new program. So we shot all the different variations of exercises that you could do with a kettlebell, with a dumbbell, with suspension trainer, with the bar, everything you could possibly shoot in 6 days, we did it.
Yep.
And then what that meant was that when the trainer teaches, there's also a visual on a couple of TV screens around the studio. So we took those videos, and so we're locked down in April.
Yep.
Within 2 weeks, we were able to piece together a lot of the videos to create online workouts.
Yep.
So we were not able to go into a studio and start. And you didn't
create the videos with that in mind. You created them with the in-studio purpose, and got it.
Yes, in-studio purpose and for international licensing.
Yep.
Because that's happening now. So what we did is my husband and I became video editors, DJs, musicians, and we did the commentary. So we put together all the videos, and we did the commentary over the top. We had so much fun because we're Kiwis, so we decided we're not going to be serious about this. We don't know if this is going to go anywhere else, and this will keep our Fire members engaged. And it was hilarious. But we also had to add music in. So that's when you find out about the whole music licensing rights thing, so we've learned a lot along the way, and we did that for 6 weeks. And then when we were given permission to go into one of the studios and start shooting online classes, we went straight away. So we had all the equipment. We were able to get the platform that we were happy with. We obviously had our own license-free music by that stage, and we started charging from the beginning online workouts, and we've always had that now, and it's still going now.
And what's your intention?
Awesome.
So you're back in studio now, and do you have restrictions on capacity and all that sort of stuff?
Yes. You're right. So after 3 months, restrictions were lifted. We managed to open up all the fitness clubs. And so we have 4 clubs and multiple studios in each club with different workouts. The capacity in our biggest studio dropped 50% because it's a treadmill running class. And so most of the time you got everyone on the treadmill, half the people on the treadmill, half the people on the floor, and then they switch. We couldn't do that. So we had to, that for us is the biggest challenge. With our cycle class, it's 80% capacity at the moment, which is great. It's only 2 bikes out because our studio was so big. Right. And then the bar class, I don't know if you've ever seen pictures or images of our bar studio. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it's got all these lighting strips that divide the floor, and we were within the SOPs for the distance between lighting strips. So we didn't change a thing. So that's running at 100% capacity. So in some studios it's 50, in some, and it's probably average 75% capacity now. We're in a semi-lockdown situation. The numbers have spiked considerably, but not in Kuala Lumpur. So it's a state which is, if you can imagine, you've got New Zealand and you've got Australia. So there's a part of Malaysia which is like Australia. That's the distance away from us. And they have hundreds of cases. And in Kuala Lumpur, we might get 4 or 5, not more than 10 cases a day.
Right. So this is interesting. So for anyone that's listening to this in the US or the UK or Europe, where obviously cases are surging, in Kuala Lumpur, you're still operating under some form of restrictions, even though you've got almost no cases and have been fairly steady for a while now, So
yes, that's correct.
With that in mind, how does that inform your decision about what you'll do with digital and virtual? Obviously something we've talked about on the podcast a lot, but I'm curious to hear, like, given that you're still not back up to full capacity in all your studios, how do you feel about having a hybrid or digital model as you move forward, even though there's very little where you are?
Look, I'm 100% behind it, and I was years ago. So this is not a new area. I've only been able to actively participate in creating or being a part of the hybrid model since Corona. Right?
Just because you were too busy doing all the other stuff.
But before Corona, I'm actually part of a team in a fitness app. So being involved in digital fitness and presenting workouts internationally on an app.
What's the app? Tell us about the app, and we'll link to it in the show notes so people can take a look. So this app is called?
So it's called FIO, F-I-O. And the app is actually owned and the brainchild of Joanna So. And Joanna is Asia's most followed YouTube fitness influencer. So she has a massive following, and that's grown incredibly also during COVID. But year on year, she would be awarded by YouTube for her following. And she decided to create a fitness app, a subscription-based fitness app, and she pulled in a team of trainers, of which I'm one of them. I think I'm probably, we're going to talk a little bit later about sort of aging in the industry, but I think probably one of the cool things about being a part of that is she wanted a range of trainers that could offer a range of workouts and someone that related to everyone. So I'm kind of that older female.
Well, let's just segue into that, because this is something that I know that we both wanted to talk about, because I think it's a really interesting thing for a lot of people within the fitness industry. So what you've talked about so far is you obviously had a long career, been involved with Les Mills, training instructors at the highest level. You've also got a boutique studio, which is kind of cutting edge and cool, and you're a trainer on a YouTuber's fitness platform. So you're very much still kind of at the cutting edge of what fitness is in terms of coolness, but you're obviously not as young as a lot of the people that are showcased in these things. So tell me a little bit about your experience of being a female who is getting older, like just to be honest, getting older, but staying relevant and at the front of the fitness industry? How have you managed that, and what are your learnings from it?
So, I mean, I had a lot of really amazing female role models, and I still do, and I still look up to them, and I still honor them, female fitness role models, people that have really looked out for me as well. And but when I hit my early 40s, and you know, you can sort of start to feel the wear and tear on your body if you're still training at a really high intensity. I also started to think, okay, so those role models that are, you know, older than me, where are they heading? What's their trajectory? What does that look like? And I really started to, you know, mull it over and think about, what about me? And you know, what do I want to be doing when I'm like late 40s and 50? And just for the record, I'm 50 and I turned 50 this year. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And it was not the 50th I had planned.
No, I mean, it's a bad year for a big birthday celebration, isn't it? Damn it.
But we did have a wonderful, wonderful celebration in Kuala Lumpur, despite the fact I was not supposed to be in Kuala Lumpur. And I did get to celebrate Emma's 50th in Ibiza. So that was last year.
Which she's been throwing back to on Instagram basically every day I've seen, which I don't blame her at all.
So I started to think about, you know, what would that mean for me when I also came into my 50s? The other part is I'm actually really young at heart. I love music, I love clubbing, I love the dance floor, I love concerts, and those things are life to me. You know, like to be a part of a live concert or to be on the dance floor, it just fuels me. I can go out dancing, come back and have a million ideas of pulling workouts together. I don't know how it just kind of all comes together. So I think by putting myself in those situations as frequently as I can, it really does keep me kind of youthful and connected. Also, I seek trends and I don't go in with a mindset of being judgy. So I look for what's happening in the fitness industry and I sort of think, instead of going, okay, is it safe? Is it, you know, are people actually getting a workout? I go in and go, okay, what's happening around me? And what's the interaction and how are people feeling about this? And did they come back again? And could I actually get a spot in that class, or am I waitlisted? And why am I waitlisted? So I sort of come from that perspective, which is more kind of overarching, what makes this a fabulous experience? And I always seek those trends and you know, trying to stay connected to what's happening and what's cool. I was also challenged just a few years ago to get into digital fitness in some way. So you know, that was a couple of years ago, like yourself, Will, where you had this belief that you couldn't teach beyond a live audience, that you wouldn't be able to do the same thing and have the same effect and bring joy to people in movement by teaching on a screen. But I was challenged about that. So I, you know, got into FIO, one of the trainers, and realized that there were people all over the world that were loving the workouts that I was putting together. So that kept me also thinking, hey, there's something in this. And then now with Corona, it's a really big part of what I'm doing now, which is coaching other trainers to deliver amazing workouts through the screen. I'm still doing it myself. And the latest thing that I launched this year was a new bar program. And that feels like it's come full circle because I was a dancer. I was that little girl, you know, the little... in the ballet studio, couldn't figure out the right from left. But yeah, I mean, I think it's like, you know, if it's a deep passion and you know that you can contribute still to the fitness industry, then why not? And do I think
Sorry, no, continue. I don't want to break your thought.
I still question, like, when's my end day, you know, to the physical showing up and doing the workout. It could be any day. And the fact that I wake up every day and I actually really love, whether it's a live class or a on-screen class, I'm really loving it. I don't take it for granted. And my classes are still full. So
people are voting with their feet.
Okay. I'll be back next week then.
Are there any, so as you've said, you're 50, are there any times when you have felt that your age has been an issue with any of the roles that you've had in fitness, or any opportunities that you like have found not to be as open as they used to be?
I'm acutely aware of how I perceive today. With the boutique, especially boutique cycling, and all my comrades are a lot younger than me. Like, we're talking 20 years.
Yep.
And yeah, and I feel like, you know, I'm acutely aware of that. But yeah, like I said, there'll be a day when I do hang up my cycling shoes, and I think it's coming soon. But I think where my greatest assets lie is in coaching other people. And it's always been that. Like, I've always done that. So being able to lift my game maybe in that area and online training, that's an opportunity as well. So I don't have to be that face out there. You know, I don't feel that anyway. I'm just really lucky that I'm still on the schedule.
Did you have that when you were younger? Like, did you have the kind of, I want to be up the front, I want to be the star, or was that never a massive driver for you? Were you always driven by other things?
100%.
Okay, cool.
100%.
Yeah, because I feel that, like, there's no shame in that, right? Like, I think most of us got into fitness because we were like, wow, it must be so cool to be up the front of the class, like holding everyone's attention and doing this fun stuff. I want to be that.
Well, I just saw it as an extension of performance.
Yeah, right.
Because I was a dancer performing on stage, competing every weekend, and and working
aerobics competitions too. I've seen these photos.
Yeah. So, you know, from dance to aerobics, and it was all like big face, big hair, big eyes, big smiles. And so that was just a natural extension. The only difference is you had to talk and tell people to come along with you for the ride, or come along with you for the workout. So, I absolutely wanted to perform, and the deep connection that I had with music meant that was obviously my biggest strength, and I had to work quite hard on the coaching side. So,
right. And
but it's bloody nice to teach now and not think too much about that, and just get the bare bones to the bare basics. Now it's just all back to fun, all back to connection.
I mean, we've talked about this a little bit. Part of the things that, if you haven't listened to the Susan Renata podcast, then go back and listen to it. We'll stick a link in the show notes. But this is the part of the discussion that Susan and I had, right? Like, when you started a little bit before me, but I would consider myself back in that time when the most important things were fun and charisma and intensity. I think, like, it was really important to, like, 100%. Teach a hard class, right? Like, you wanted to be sweating it. And then through the sort of 2000s, it got very technique focused, kind of late, like 2000 to 2010. And then when CrossFit and HIIT came in, everyone was like, oh, I guess we're not so much focused on that. People are just going to do crazy things. And now it's almost swung right back around to experience. And it's nice, right? Because at the end of the day,
so nice.
Yeah. I mean, like, I have come around to the very strong belief that the important thing about exercise is people doing it. And therefore, it's not important that it is absolutely perfect. What's important is the people get up off the couch and are motivated to do it. I follow a guy on Instagram. I'm not going to call him out, but and I think he's really great. Like, I follow him because his mobility and flexibility stuff is really amazing. But he had a book on HIIT, and he basically did an Instagram post about how all these bodyweight circuit HIIT aren't really HIIT, because you can only do HIIT on a treadmill or swimming or a stationary bike, because otherwise you don't get into the proper training intensity. And I read it and I was like, okay, I get where you're coming from. Like, scientifically, I get that you're correct. Like, if you're going to do Tabata, it has to be Tabata on a treadmill, or Tabata on a bike, or on an assault bike, or something where you've got a single plane of motion, because the minute you're jumping, there's too much complexity to hit the top end. But I feel that that's really elitist. I'm very much at the other end of things, which is, I don't really care about whether or not the science is correct. I care about that person who might not have exercised otherwise, getting up off the couch and participating.
And for them, it's HIIT. Right? For them,
exactly,
it really
exactly.
is.
Walking, walking briskly could be HIIT.
No, I agree. And I mean, there's so much freedom in being able to express yourself, and I think that's probably the greatest thing I got out of moving across from Les Mills. Not that I never expressed myself, I always did, but I was so up in my head and conscious around the things that I felt I needed to say and tick all the boxes, that I lost a lot of the opportunity to really deeply connect. And now I feel like I get on the bike, or I go into the bar studio, or even on camera, I'm just imagining that people are talking back at me, and that we're having the best time.
I do that as well.
And the shit that comes out of my mouth is And I don't second guess myself anymore. I'm just like in the moment. And sometimes teaching ride, I could go a whole minute without saying anything because the music's so good. Why would I kill it? You know? So, and I can see the people in front of me, how they're so engaged in it as well. And it's it's such a joyful experience, you know? So I think I did listen to quite a few of your podcasts, and I'm massive fans of everyone you've interviewed, and it's it feels like I'm listening to conversations with my friends. I think I had a smile on my face from beginning to end on every single interview. But one thing that I remember Bevan talked about, which is you've got to make sure that you have a business.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say, you know, as you're aging in the fitness industry, I agree with that, and I've had that opportunity to do that. And also to not stop growing, you know, like just because I'm 50 and there is kind of a cap on the physicality of what I can do, and that without a doubt that is. I mean, I take a lot longer to recover. I don't teach as many classes as I used to, but the ones I do teach, I have so much fun, you know, but I continue to grow and teach myself more skills to get the workouts out into the world. And, you know, Corona has given us this opportunity to, you know, really learn the skills around digital fitness, and it's here to stay.
I completely agree. One of my new shift instructors did their assessment, and part of the assessment for shift is you do a small video assessment, and it's basically 3 moves. It's tuck jump, skater, and a high knee run backwards and forwards, like 3 like classic hip moves. And the key is they just need to demonstrate it, coach it safely, and then sort of move on. It's very much a show me that you can do it. You can like execute it and coach it safely to make sure that people are getting an effective workout, and then move on. And someone submitted their video and then sent me a message on the side going, "Oh, I'm really sorry, my tuck jumps aren't very good, and you know, I know they should be better." And I just remember thinking, "Oh, like I'm so glad that you sent that to me, because now I get the opportunity to send it back and go, look, tuck jumps are the least important thing. Like if you just want to do any variation of a tuck jump and coach what a tuck jump would look like." But the very fact that you struggle with the tuck jump, but you're getting up on camera and showing that you're still going to participate in this and do it. There's so many people that will feel a connection to that wouldn't feel a connection to someone who just jumps up and does an amazing tuck jump. Because most of the people that like the people that are doing fitness already are such a small percentage of the people that we need to bring into fitness, and bringing people into fitness really does require that there's a variety of role models of all ages, of all stages, of all fitness levels, and someone who's on the couch and will never, the tuck jumps are not attainable to them, maybe ever, depending on how old they are, but certainly not now. Seeing someone else saying, I struggle with these, but I'm going to do it anyway and I really enjoy it, is much more meaningful than a 25-year-old with abs and a crop top doing an amazing tuck jump.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, I often express I don't, when I'm teaching, I don't express my age and how it affects me. I just openly express how my body's feeling, because I know that they're feeling it too. I mean, I'm a fit person. So, you know, if I'm feeling it and I can express it, you know, through my words and my voice and my body, then I think that really lands with people. They're like, oh, wow, if she's feeling this, then I'm feeling this. This is good. And the connection is there, whether it's through camera or whether it's live. So, yeah.
So one last question around staying relevant, as I know it's something that we've covered up in previous podcasts too. As a 50-year-old in the fitness industry, how has your relationship with social media developed and changed? Like how do you find that element of that necessary element of being a fitness professional at an advancing age?
Okay. So I just keep real with myself, and I don't really think I'm relevant when it comes to social media. I'm just going to be honest. Like, I don't think I'm relevant. But what I do get out of it is I can tell people about stuff. So if I want them to know that something's happening and I want to tag a few people, so because I don't want them to miss out, because I know that they'd be pissed off if they missed out. That's how I use it. If I want to tell people something that I know about fitness, and I know a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I authentically share with someone some information, about fitness or health or whatever. I think I speak from a genuine place because
Mm-hmm.
people do look to me as a female role model. So I use social media in that way, and I know that I'm educating, I'm sharing, and I share a little bit about myself and my journey in fitness. And I think because I'm in boutique fitness, I think that's a part of what we do. And
Yep.
when we come on as trainers with Fire, we do some social media training,
Yep.
because we require the trainers to reach out to a fan base and tell them about their classes. I mean,
Right.
everybody wants a full class. This is the way to do it. I'm
Yeah,
no
it's free
different,
marketing, right? Like, yeah, that's kind
Yeah.
of like, I'm not a huge fan of social media, but I know that it's simply a channel to get what you want to give to the world out to a wider audience. And so there's not really,
Yeah, that's
you can choose to not embrace it, but then you're just cutting yourself off to all these other people that you can help. But
Yeah,
but I do,
that's the way I see it too.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So, coming to the end of our discussion, all that's left for me to ask is what's next for Tracy? Like, what's in the plans for 2021? Yeah, exactly. Asking someone what their future plans are in 2020 is cruel, isn't it?
Yes, I think we can think of it as 2021 as an extension.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just to clarify, so our company was bought a year ago. We sold to a bigger conglomerate called Evolution
Congratulations.
Wellness. Thank you. Good timing.
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yeah, and all our staff are still working with us, so we're really
Mm-hmm.
lucky. So I'm now employed and working with Evolution Wellness, and one
Mm-hmm.
of our biggest challenges is when we license Fire internationally, how do we train the trainers?
Right.
So I am working on a project to develop an online training. It's an app,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's
Oh,
Fire in your
I know
pocket.
this well.
Yeah, we were just saying at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So that's my next project at the moment, and I think it's really good. It's teaching me a lot. It helps I ask the questions. If I am learning this from a distance, how do I feel about what I'm seeing, hearing, reading,
Mm-hmm.
and what you're asking me to do? So I'm trying to use as many interactive tools as possible to help people understand what it means to be a Fire coach and successfully go on to teach our programs in a location where I may never get to see them.
Right. Never
So yeah, so I think that's my challenge now. That's the project that I'm on. I'm really grateful for the opportunity because I'm learning a lot along the way.
And so
then
you have
after that,
four fires in Kuala Lumpur. Are they all in?
yes,
Yep. And then so
they're all in Kuala Lumpur.
where do you think the next location might be, or is that secret? Will it be
That's a
Asia?
secret.
That's a secret. Okay. So keep watch of this
Yeah.
space.
Well, I think that the opportunity in Asia is really good because
Mm-hmm.
boutique was still growing.
Yep.
And the COVID situation is relatively good here. It's, it's
Being
under
managed
control
in a
in
way
most
that
countries.
feels slightly better than the way it's being managed up here.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, I mean, it's good. I mean, Singapore's good, and Vietnam is like New Zealand. Thailand's amazing. So all the markets are open in fitness, but obviously with limited capacity.
Yep.
So it would make sense that we would be able to expand throughout Southeast Asia, but we're also looking at continents closer to us. And I have to keep thinking about, if we gave a trainer this tool, would they successfully be able to go on and teach one of our programs just through that tool without ever coming into Fire? And I think it's an opportunity. It's going to take me a little bit of time. After that, I like you, Will, I'm heading to New Zealand, so I think there's an amazing breath of fresh air that is going to invigorate me, I think mentally and emotionally, that might help me figure out where to from here.
Well, I think that is a fantastic place to finish, because that's certainly the same hope that I have going back to New Zealand. I think the listeners of the podcast will know that I did the podcast with Sasha where I was kind of viewing my 14-day self-isolation as prison. But I have to say that as things have changed in the Northern Hemisphere, and as I have reflected on my conversation with Sasha and also put into play some of the mindset things that she talked about, I'm now seeing it as an opportunity to kind of like focus on a few things that I haven't done this year, like learning French, and then getting the massive privilege of spending a summer in New Zealand where COVID kind of doesn't exist. I think like we have,
Yeah.
as a New Zealand citizen, we've got like the ultimate COVID privilege, right?
I know. So it's 60 days before I go. I'm counting.
Not that you're counting.
No, I am. Because, and also I have to finish this project to the pilot level. So it's kind of good. It's keeping me busy, and it's my
So
next...
that's you kind of going full circle, right?
Yeah.
Like starting off with writing training manuals and writing procedures and then going through all the boutique, and now you're back to writing those training manuals again. But presumably with a significantly larger font of knowledge to pull on.
Yeah, I think it's real. I mean, as I'm writing and typing, sometimes I get a bit emotional because I'm sharing everything I've ever learnt and all the experiences I've ever had, and I'm condensing it down to the most effective way to communicate.
Yep.
So it does get me quite emotional sometimes because it feels like it's a legacy project.
Yeah, and it is.
Mm.
Well, thank you very much, Tracy. It was wonderful to have you on the podcast. Maybe I'll see you in New Zealand.
Let's catch up in New Zealand.
Perfect.
Knowing that we might not be able to come back. I mean, there's rules around coming back to Malaysia. So, I'm hoping I can come back, but wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to be stuck there.
Yeah, there are worse places. Thank you, Tracy.